This show is the Lions Villain Report. We're broadcasting live right now into the Lions Villain Squad Facebook page. We're over 51,000 villains. Go over, follow that page, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you for liking that, whoever just did that. We're also broadcasting live into the Detroit Lions News Podcast, as well as Roku. And thank you to Joe Chap and the boys for allowing us to broadcast into that spot. Our brand new relationship that we have. We're proud of this right here. JC Sports. We're broadcasting into that YouTube page. So make sure you go over and subscribe to JC Sports. They do all the stuff from like Red Wings. They cover all of the sports right there. And here we are. It's Friday. Training camp is in full swing. We actually have news and stuff to talk about. Like, that's right, brother. Hulkamania was running wild, dude. When it comes to Detroit Lions training camp, brother, what you gonna do when the largest arms in the world show up at Lions training camp? Well, maybe it's not the largest arms in the world, but maybe like the top 10 largest arms in the world. That's right, brother. That's right. So what did you think about that? What did you think about having Hulk Hogan? Hulk Hogan shows up at Lions training camp. He cuts a little promo, sits there with Dan Campbell, says he's going to start a tag team with Motor City Dan Campbell. Wouldn't that be big? Wouldn't that be big? The crazy thing is like Hulk Hogan's like he was slated at 6'8" when he was back in his heyday. And I mean, it really looked like Dan Campbell towered over Hulk Hogan. I think Dan Campbell taken. I think Dan Campbell take Hulk Hogan right now. He can do all that. But Dan Campbell come in, knock him down a size a little bit right there. So Hulk Hogan shows up to the training camp. What is the biggest surprise when it comes to the training camp as I go in here? Good morning to you, Dwayne. Good morning, Paul Jones is up in the house. Russ, drink your milk and say your prayers, brother, because WrestleMania is running wild on you, brother. That's right. I do have a wrestling page. If you guys haven't seen that yet and you haven't seen the post, go over and follow. If you like wrestling, you'll love my page. I put up content out there. I'm a huge wrestling fan. I'm getting into SummerSlam and all that stuff. So I absolutely love these crossovers that they're doing. I love that Pat McAfee is now the commentator on SmackDown. And that stuff is really fun to me because when they get those crossovers and everything, and it's really, really cool. So if you like wrestling, go over to my wrestling page. Let me see if I can bring that up. Let's see. On the Facebook. And yeah, it's called WrestleMania Pro Wrestling Talk. And let me pull this up real quick here for you. As soon as it switches over. And I apologize here for a second. Let me share this screen for you. Boom. And boom. There you go. WrestleMania Pro Wrestling Talk. We got about almost 5,000 people on there. And when that hits 5,000, I'm going to start doing a live show like this about wrestling. And I know that you guys don't want to hear a lot about wrestling. I won't spend too much time on that, but I wanted to let you know that that's out there. And I have some of these Packer fans. They're liking that too. I know Steve is real. He likes him some wrestling, so I figure I'll throw that out to you. Dwayne Keene says, let's go. Detroit Lions pride. NFC North Division champion title. Yeah. Definitely like that. That one gets a couple Kirk Cousins. Let's see if I can get my the cool little graphic right here for where did it go? Where'd it go? There you go. You want the NFC North champions. That's right, brother. What you gonna do? The division champions. Thank you, Dwayne. I appreciate that. We will be biting kneecaps all year. Hulk lost 5 inches over the years of in back surgeries. Is that true? I thought you were. Dirty Dom is becoming my favorite recently. Yeah, that's because he's he's going after Liv Morgan, and I can't. You can't actually be a dude and not like Liv Morgan. But well, the Lions in training camp, they're doing their thing. NFL may be moving to an 18-game season sooner rather than later. What do you think about that? I mean, they've been talking about it. It's been picking up some steam, and I got to give Main Event Mike some credit on this because he called this like last year when everybody thought he was crazy. It's like, yeah, they're never going to do that. And now with this collective bargaining agreement not taking place until like 29 or 30 or something like that, there's no way. There's no way they're going to wait that long for 18 games. But what would it take? You know, an 18-game season. You know, the unions would be for it. If there was another bye week involved, and that's where I would be for it. I mean, the extra bye week is a big thing. Joe Burrow made a suggestion that I thought was really, really good. And he had said that he thinks that they should do a league-wide bye right in the middle of the season and, you know, do all the Pro Bowl games and all that stuff on there and, you know, focus the attention on all those. Because I know the Pro Bowl games really, or not the Pro Bowl games, but the Pro Bowl, when they were playing the game, it sucked. It sucked because nobody wanted to get hurt, you know, just offensive. I mean, really, you're just taking photo ops. It wasn't really all that exciting. Nobody really tuned into that, you know. I mean, the diehards in there, but it's a hard watch when you're not seeing real football. But when they switched it to the Pro Bowl games, I thought that was interesting. You know, guys jumping up in the air and catching balls, landing in water, and, you know, making it fun. I think it could turn into a really big thing. I think right in the middle of the season, if they put that in there, you know, you're doing an 18-game season, but then you have a league-wide bye, help everybody get rested right in the middle of the season. And then during that week, you're running the Pro Bowl games. You're getting, I mean, there's no eyes on any other football. And you can really highlight the guys that were in the Pro Bowl, you know, doing the different games, making them good new traditions about that. And it doesn't have to be anything that you really have to risk injury when it comes down with that. So what do you think about that? Roger Goodell out there. He's out there pandering. He's out there pandering for an 18-game season. It means more money. So what do you think about the 18-game season type of deal? Timothy Becker says, just do it. 18, I mean, that's easy for us. We get more football. Who doesn't want more football? I've never seen so many people get excited over guys showing up in shorts to practice and start the season because football is king in the United States of America. It is, and there isn't even a close second. I mean, you could probably combine baseball, hockey, and, you know, all the sports together, and it probably wouldn't draw up to the fan base that the NFL has. It's unbelievable. And worldwide, football is starting to catch too. I know soccer, the real football, right? That's pretty big. That's pretty big when you go outside of the United States. But within the United States, there ain't nothing else. It's football. It's football. And during the off season, it's like the NFL draft kicks the shit out of everything. I mean, you could be in the middle of a playoff run. The NFL draft, more viewers. So NFL is king, and going to an 18-game season seems like it's inevitable, isn't it? It's inevitable. More money. That means that the players will make more money. That means that the league's going to make more money. The teams are going to make more money because people love to consume this. The gambling everything that's involved with it is going to grow. And that's what businesses do. I don't mind it. I think it would be a good thing as long as they take care of the players. I love the idea. Good job, Joe Burrow. Looking like Cody Rhodes. Good suggestion. Bye week in the middle. Everybody gets their regular bye week, and you stick one right in the middle, and then you're playing 18 games. Paul Jones in there. 18 games with 2 preseason games. Extended training camp is one of the proposals. That's good too. Only 2 preseason games. Man, I know that we don't like the preseason games, but I know that the coaching and it really does help the guys get ready for the season. And you're trying to figure out roster battles. I don't know if I like shortening the preseason because it does get kind of long in there. The 3 games was feeling pretty good in there. I don't mind the 2 games. That'd be good. I would rather just see them throw another bye in the middle of the season. I mean, we can all go 2 weeks without, real football, and that would make it. And Elise, the queen of memes, is in the house. Good morning, Russell Wayne. Good morning, villains. Happy Friday. People done with their work week. You like that? Hopefully it's going to be really nice this weekend. You get to go out, spend some time with your family. Enjoy this weather. Even though we love the fall weather because it signifies our Detroit Lions. They're coming back to play some more football. But don't like the cold weather as much. So enjoy yourself. Don't push for the end of summer so much because we love football so much. Main Event Mike's up in the house. Maybe Main Event Mike, do you want to come on? If you don't, then that's cool. If you do, then if I need to send you a link, let me know what I got to do. But it'll push the Super Bowl to President's Day weekend. Yeah, that's very patriotic. That's a very patriotic thing there, Mike. You push it right to President's Day. America, football, cheeseburgers. Let's go. National holiday the day after. That's right. That's right. You do the Super Bowl and the national holiday. You even got to go to work the next day. NFL's got you covered. That's right. Oh, gosh. I know that Mike has a good take on this. So whether we're going to see him pop in here or not, we're going to see if he'll come in here and put a take on this. But I got to give Main Event Mike credit on this because he called this like last year during the middle of the season. He actually took some shit for it. Like people are like, no, you're not going to do it. Mike's like, it's inevitable. He called this way, way back in the day. Let me find Main Event Mike right there. And there is the copy. My computer is deciding to be kind of slow today. And there you go. I sent Main Event Mike an invite. He should be joining us shortly right here. Timothy Becker in the house. I want a 20-game season with 2 more playoff games. Go big or go home. That's right. Maybe they're just going to have year-round football. And you have to have 2 teams. You have a 120-person roster. Oh, man. 20-game season? I don't know. That might be a little much. What's going on, Main Event Mike?
Can you hear me?
I can. Love that shirt. Looking good.
Sorry, I tried calling you and texting you, but you left your phone in your car.
Oh, yeah. I did do that. But we're talking about some training camp. I mean, we actually have news, And you know what the news is? That's right, brother. Hulkamania's running wild, dude. He's out in Lions training camp. And what you gonna do when the Lions run wild on you? That's right.
Wait a minute. Did you just put a Villain Squad shirt on the Hulkster? Is that what that graphic? Did I see him wearing a Villain Squad shirt?
Hey, you know what? He can wear whatever he wants. But the Hulkster, he's a good friend of the show. If he only knew that, that would be really awesome, because then we'd have him come on. That's the thing, is he doesn't know that he's a huge villain. But, you know, Hulk Hogan, when he joined the NWO, was one of the biggest villains in wrestling. So we can relate, Hulkster, Hulkamania, and the Lions will be running wild. You know why? Because we got two of the best running backs in the NFL, and we're going to be running wild over the entire NFL as we hoist our first Lombardi trophy. I'm sorry, I went off there for a minute. There. What do you think about this, Mike? 18-game season, man. You called this shit.
I did call this shit a long time ago. They first started rumbling about it last year that Roger Goodell wants an 18-game season. And the players are not going to just accept that. They're going to have to get a lot in return, because the majority of the players do not want this. Howie Long described playing an NFL game once as like being run over by a car every Sunday. And you're asking them to be run over by a car another day of the week, right? So they're going to want a lot in return for this. An extra preseason game just seems like a total no-brainer. But for the last couple of weeks, Russ, I've been trying to work this out in my brain. How are you going to get each team to get 2 buys? And I love Joe Burrow's suggestion of putting the Pro Bowl right in the middle of the season. Everyone gets it off. No way in hell that happens. You heard it here from Main Event Mike. No way that happens. We're talking about billions of dollars that they would lose to develop that Pro Bowl and develop. I mean, that first year would be a disaster for them. Maybe in the long term, they could make that profitable. But last year was the first time the Pro Bowl was even watchable, and it wasn't even a game. It was just a bunch of games. But the first time a guy blows out an ankle because he's trying to catch a football on a unicycle, that's going to be the end of that. All right? That's the end of that. And they're not going to do that, even though it's a great sentiment, Joe Burrow. What they are going to do is possibly, I've heard some rumblings on satellite radio yesterday, maybe they do an alternating division has a bye. Like the NFC North has a bye this week, and the NFC South has a bye that week. And then they still do the regular bye. But the main thing about this isn't even really about the 18 games or the extra bye. This is about pushing the schedule back to President's Day for a holiday weekend. You only need one more week to get there. They keep pushing the Super Bowl further and further and further. It started out right in January. Then it became the first week in February for a few years. Now it's in the second week of February. They just keep moving it back. So this extra game will create more revenue and push it to that holiday weekend that Roger Goodell wants so badly.
When you brought it up the way that you brought it up, it does make a lot of sense that it isn't going to happen. Because if you just look at it like the whole week off, right? You're right in the middle of the season, right? And you announced a Pro Bowl. I think they could develop a really nice Pro Bowl that isn't is guys riding on a unicycle and get injured. That would suck. But it's like the alternative is just watching a shitty Pro Bowl game that doesn't mean anything, that nobody really wants, that nobody's really going to go hard in, that nobody's cares. Nobody cares. That's a disaster. The Pro Bowl has been a disaster for years. And I don't think in the middle of the season, and it's just my opinion. I mean, I could be wrong on this too, but in the middle of the season, like when you're in the middle of a playoff run, all eyes are on that Pro Bowl game. It actually puts more eyes onto the Pro Bowl game, and you're looking at it, and you got football coming the next season. You see all your favorite guys that, made the Pro Bowl doing the unicycles, doing the photo ops.
I mean, you're talking about the most watched sport in the world has the least watched all-star game of all of the sports. Even hockey's all-star game gets better ratings than the Pro Bowl. So maybe they would want to pump that up, but that's after the season, right? I mean,
but that's why, right?
It's like getting in a car wreck every week, and now you want me to go to Hawaii and catch a football on a unicycle when I'm supposed to be locked in on the playoffs. My focus is supposed to be winning this division. You only get 17 games or 18 games soon. That's all you get. You cannot afford to take a Pro Bowl break in the middle of the season. Those players would rather stay home with their families in the middle of the season with an extra bye week than go out to Las Vegas and jump on a trampoline. Okay? So it's a pipe dream. That's never going to happen. But they are going to go to 18 games, and the players are going to get something in return, and that probably will be one of the concessions will be an extra bye week.
Yeah. But it's like you've definitely done your research on that part because you're convincing me. Because you start thinking like these billionaires, which, when you're poor, you don't really get to think like that very much. But when you really think about it, it's like, what do billionaires like more than money? More money. And less money is putting a bye week in the middle of the season during that time. And you make a great point there with guys not being locked in. Like if you take a chance of that veering off and all of a sudden your team is in shambles because you're thinking about this or that, or you fell off the unicycle or whatever happens, that's not going to be good. So what do you think out there? We're talking about the 18-game schedule that Roger Goodell's out there, tooting his horn for. What do you think about that? Paul Jones says that preseason allows guys to get some tape, and that won't happen if we shorten it. That was probably to the comment of the 2-game, cutting back on the preseason 2-game thing, and they do need that. I really do. I think they need to have that time, especially for the young players that are just trying to learn where the locker room is and the cafeteria is, that type of thing. Good morning, Mike. That's what Paul Jones says. Dwayne Keene says Michael Badgley is out for the season. Yeah. I didn't know that. I've been locked.
Money Badger. They did not disclose the injury, Russ. Dan Campbell just said it was a, quote, serious injury and is out for the season, paving the way for Russell Wayne's prediction that Jake Bates would be our kicker to come true. This is a big deal, folks. He was 21 of 28 in the USFL. And I know a lot of people are believing on him because chicks dig the long ball. Chicks dig that sexy 64-yard field goal. But he missed a couple extra points, and he missed a couple chip shots, too. Field goals. So this is a big deal. There's no more real kicker battle. They let the kid from Michigan, Johnson, go and got picked up by who?
The Green Bay Packers.
So it is definitely a big deal. This is big news that Badgley's going down. I mean, not like Dan Campbell kicks it anyway.
Yeah. When it comes with Jake Bates, I put this opinion out there. Here's my Jake Bates opinion. Like, Dan Campbell is going to use Jake Bates in the way that he goes for it on all of the fourth downs. Everybody thinks it's like this all of a sudden is going to make Dan Campbell kick a lot of field goals. No, that's not what he's going to do. What it's going to do is when he's on his side of the 50-yard line, he's going to go, 69-yard field goal. Get out there, Drake. Okay, get out there. I think that you can hit this. And he's going to be kicking these astronomically long field goals because it's like, hey, man, he kicked the ball 80 yards. Let's see if he can make a 71-yarder. F it, I think that's how he's going to use Jake Bates, and he's still going to be going for it when he gets inside the other team's 50 on astronomical pace. They have built this in, and y'all might think it's stupid for him to go on fourth down. And the only people that think it's stupid are the ones that just want to chime in when it doesn't work. So stop it. Stop it. This is our coach. If you don't like Dan Campbell and you don't like his aggressiveness, then go follow a different team because it's not going to work out good for you for the rest of your life with Dan Campbell here.
Another good point about the 18-game season, Russ, is the collective bargaining agreement where the league and the Players Association get together doesn't happen again until 2030. But don't think for a minute that they're going to wait that long to move to 18 games. We will see it before that. They will call a special meeting of the collective bargaining agreement. They'll probably give that a year of lead time. So we might see them set that date this year. to convene maybe at the owners' meeting next year where they'll vote on it. They are not going to wait another 6 years before Roger Goodell puts this in place. That's just more revenue, which is going to increase his own salary.
Yeah, we definitely agree on that part right there. Like, there's zero chance that it's going to go to 2030. No chance. No chance. Oh, man. But thank you for that information, Michael. Sometimes it's like I get locked up in my dungeon making content for this channel, and it's like it's almost like sometimes you miss out on the breaking thing. Did that happen like yesterday?
Yeah, last night. Yeah, in the afternoon. But honestly, this was a big deal, right? I mean, this was a big deal. The kicker competition in training camp was going to be a battle that we were going to be. It was right at the top of the battles that we were really going to be watching, right along with the cornerback position. So this is a big deal. I was looking forward to these two kicking it out in camp to see who's going to be the kicker. And I predicted that Michael Badgley was going to win that. And I believe had he not got injured, I still believe he would have won that. He's the more accurate kicker of the two, and that's who I wanted to go into the season with. I don't care about the big leg as much as the accuracy. And now this sets us up for potential game on the line kick to be made by a guy that was 21 of 28 last year in a D league. So I'm worried about that. We'll call it a B league.
Yeah, sorry for that. Did I spell it wrong? Is that
I think there's an E missing in there. Geley, if I'm not mistaken.
Geley? Yeah.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it don't matter. I was just trying to be slick right there, and then I accidentally put Jake Bates is out for the season for a second. No, just in case you read that and you didn't understand what Mike was saying right there, it's not Jake Bates that's out for the season. It's Michael Badgley that's out for the season, which paves the way for Jake Bates with the bionic foot going to be
now the
kicking.
Question is, do they bring in another kicker for competition for Bates?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I think that there was just something that was like this destiny thing. Like the minute that he kicked a 67-yard field goal or whatever he did in the USFL, like everybody in Detroit goes, that guy. And it was just like a destiny thing, wasn't it? It's like he kicked the entire season over there, and every week we had people on our program. We got to keep Jake Bates. We got to sign Jake Bates. Lions ain't going to win a Super Bowl. Let's sign Jake Bates. It's like, okay, Jake Bates it is. So they go.
And the Green Bay Packers also wanted Jake Bates. He had a handful of teams that were pursuing him, and he chose the Lions.
Yeah, the Green Bay Packers. It's another Green Bay, another victory over the Green Bay Packers. They get so ass hurt over it that they got to come and take our scraps. So they go and claim Turner off of the waiver wires because they're all butthurt because we took the quarterback.
A lot of people pointed to the fact that they signed Jake Bates to a 2-year contract. And they kind of pointed to that, indicating that, he was the lead, horse in the clubhouse. But if you look at that contract, Russ, like we did, it is ridiculously cheap. Like He could have got a 1-year deal for cumulatively more money. But to stay here, he got himself a longer term, a little bit more security. But don't read too much into that 2-year contract. This was still an open kicker competition until yesterday.
Yeah, he is making $745,000 this year. So let's not really, because I'm looking at the over the cap numbers on him right now, and and in his next year, he's going to make $795,000, which means that even if we were in the middle of the season, you could just cut this contract and it wouldn't hurt the team at all. You could cut him like anybody else on that 2-year deal, and it's not even going to put a tiny little blemish on our cap room.
And over 2 years, you're talking $1.5 million. He could have got that for 1 year if he'd have went somewhere else.
Right.
So it was very friendly for us. I'm sure that the regime made it very clear that this is an open competition. This is not your job. And from what I've heard from training camp, they were battling it out.
Yeah, Michael Badgley, like you brought, it blew my mind last year, or that when you brought that up, what his numbers were, because you're like, this guy didn't miss a field goal at all. Like, I know that they only kicked like 4 of them, but he made all 4 of the field goals, and one of them was over 50. So
a 54-yarder in a playoff game.
So if you're telling me that we have this gigantic hole at kicker before Badgley got injured, I would have been on your side, Mike. No, we don't. Badgley was fine. If anything, Badgley missed a couple extra points too. So that's where your mind gets locked, right? Oh my God, he missed 2 field goals. No, he didn't. He missed 2 extra points. He made all his field goals. Anything that was worth 3 points, he hit. He did miss a couple 1-pointers. Paul Jones says that Pro Bowl should be an NFL versus AFL again, or NFL. That'd
be really hard, since some of the AFL is not just the AFC anymore like it used to be. They've mixed and matched them now, so that would be really tough to do.
How about this? NFL versus USFL. Oh gosh, it's going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be like the Harlem Globetrotters versus the Washington. Bates.
That's the thing too. The Pro Bowl, these guys, they have a hard time getting a lot of participation from the players as it is now. Put that in the middle of the season, and it's still going to be voluntary. If you put it in the middle of the season, hardly anyone would go, I would imagine. They're like, let's see, can I go do that, or should I stay here and rehab my body because I got the second half of the season to play? No way that happens, Russ.
Bates Motel is open. There you go. Bates Motel is open now. We're about ready to make it scary for the rest of the league right there. So that's going through all of them comments right there. Hulk Hogan shows up at training camp today. Let me know what your thoughts of that are, if it's in anything or it's just a shameless plug for the WrestleMania Pro Wrestling Talk page that you can go follow if you like wrestling.
He's a Buccaneer fan anyway.
Is he? Yeah, he probably jumped on the bandwagon when Tom Brady went down there, because there's no real Buccaneer fans. Oh, the training camp storylines. That's what we got. We actually have storylines. J-Mo out beasting. He is out there beasting. He's gotten a lot of good talk from the coaches, and the people that are around him think that he is just going to light it up. Like it's a completely different thing from last year. And for those, I know that there is some sports talk media that's out there that says that, last year that people were talking about, oh yeah, look at Jameson, look how good he's doing, look how good he's getting. There was none of that last year, guys. Like there was no good talk on Jameson Williams last year. Dan Campbell wasn't coming up and endorsing him. As a matter of fact, it was the opposite of that. Dan Campbell came out last year and said Jameson Williams will never, he's probably not going to have elite hands. That's not his bag. He was trying to motivate him from the opposite side, tell him to work harder, trying to get his body right, get on the same page as Jared Goff. Jared Goff was underthrowing him. They weren't on the same page. There was this miss, it wasn't lining up for him. But then coming into this training camp, Amon-Ra St. Brown made a comment. Dan Campbell made a comment during OTAs that said he just looks like a different player. I don't know what that means. Does that mean that Jameson Williams is going to have 1,900 yards receiving this year and blow up the league? I don't know. But I think that he's going to have more than, 4 or 5 targets a game this year like he did last year. So if Jameson Williams is coming into camp, he looks stronger, he looks leaner, he looks faster than he did last year, looks like his hands are better, why wouldn't we feel good about that? Like, if you don't believe in Jameson Williams, what is your thoughts on it? I know that you're a hard person on Jameson Williams, Mike. What are your thoughts after hearing comments like that from the staff?
Well, as we said on the show yesterday, he's going to get number 2 targets. But to your point earlier, nobody was talking about J-Mo last year because we knew he wasn't going to be the number 2. We knew Josh Reynolds was going to have that role. Now Josh Reynolds is gone. It's his position to lose. If Isaiah Williams, the rookie from Illinois, makes the team, if Antoine Green takes the next step, they're going to have to supplant him. Donovan Peoples-Jones, they're going to have to supplant Jameson Williams to get that number 2 role. So we know that it's his. But let's look at it from a fantasy football perspective. Jameson Williams is still, in a fantasy world, still going to be a low-end RB or WR3. He's going to be a wide receiver 3 on your fantasy team. Nobody's taken J-Mo as their number 2 on their fantasy team. And it's not because he doesn't have the ability. It's because there are so many mouths to feed in Detroit. Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs out of the backfield. We're going to run the ball a lot because we have the best offensive line. So the target share is going to be down anyway compared to some other receivers or some other teams. So don't expect J-Mo to blow it up and take him in the second round of your fantasy team because you're making a mistake there. What we're going to see is market improvement, more targets. Hell, every time the guy touches the ball, he's a threat to go to the house, right? Mm-hmm. So in some crazy, bizarro world, he could have 1,900 yards and 15 touchdowns. That could happen because he's that dangerous.
Yeah, and
I wouldn't count on it. The odds are long on that. But hey, if J-Mo can be just even 3/4 of what we drafted him to be, this is going to help this offense be a top 5 offense in the league again.
All right, so I'm gonna throw a hot take on here, and this is because here's the thing, and I know everybody gets excited. We have a lot of good players here in Detroit. We love our Sam Laporta, we love Amon-Ra St. Brown. You got Jameson Williams and Jahmyr Gibbs, and all of these playmakers. And if everybody lives up to their projections, Jared Goff's going to throw for 11,000 yards this year. And the thing is, you have to be realistic with that. So I think that Jameson Williams is going to have a breakout season this year. I think he's going to get, probably right around 1,000, maybe 1,100 yards. He's not going to do it on a ton of targets. He's not going to do it on 100 catches. He's going to get 1,000 yards on like 60 or 70 balls. He's going to average. He'll probably be in the top. I'll go bold here. I think that Jameson Williams is going to lead the league in yards per reception. Because when they do throw it to him, he's probably going to score because they're going to be looking at all the other people. And the other part of the other hot take that I have, one, Jameson Williams is going to lead the league in yards per catch. The other thing is Sam Laporta, by the stats, is going to regress. He is going to have less production than he did last year because he's a tight. He went off last year for a tight end. Carving up the middle of the field. But the thing is when they start evenly distributing these things, they start giving Gibbs a couple more targets in the passing game. They're starting to bring Jameson Williams up to speed. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is probably going to duplicate what he just did. And just that's what he is. Right in the middle of the field, he's going to eat you up in the middle of the field and play his role. So I think that Jameson Williams will lead the league in yards per reception, and Sam Laporta will have less production than he did last year, but it's not going to look like he's still going to be regarded as a top 3 tight end in the league. It's just not going to show up on a stat line.
I mean, Josh Reynolds only got 3 to 4 targets a game last year. So is that the hole that Jameson is filling? Those 3 to 4 targets a game? Because J-Mo averaged 2.5 targets a game last year himself.
Yep.
So Khalif Raymond only gets 2 or 3 targets a game.
And he's good with that. It's like this. That's the thing that people aren't really understanding right here is Khalif Raymond is in his role, right? He ain't going to come out there. They're not going to target him 12 times in a game. That's just not what he does. He's the punt returner, and they throw him out there for some gadget plays, and sometimes he just finds himself wide open. I don't think they're going to target him more for that. He's got his role. He's got his niche. They pop. There you go. You get your 2-3 targets a game. Got some things designed to you. Jahmyr Gibbs, He's going to expand the tree. He's going to go out. They're going to be I think you're going to see a lot of David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs out there at the same time with Gibbs in the slot. They're going to start using him as that weapon. They drafted him at 11 overall. And Laporta is kind of like just in the middle of that thing. He had to be good last year because we didn't have a bona fide number 2 target. Laporta was it. He ain't going. I don't think that he's going to be the number 2 target. It'd be like 1A, 1B, and 1C when you're thinking about these guys. And they're going to play Jameson Williams like a chess piece, like having an extra queen on the field because they were top 5 offense without him. Put him wherever you want. Line him up against the worst player on the other team and say, you're my bitch. Yeah. Now,
and Sam Laporta didn't just have a good rookie season. He had the most prolific rookie season by a tight end in NFL history. Okay,
and that's not sustainable.
Really hard to duplicate that. To your point, Russ. I mean, even if those numbers come down a little bit, he could be a Pro Bowl tight end and still lead the league with tight end play, and still have a slight regression because that he set the bar so high last year. It wouldn't be a disappointment to see his numbers drop a little, but the team win a couple more games because they're spreading the ball around more.
Absolutely. And if he becomes a better blocker and, minus a couple extra yards and receptions, I think that you can make an argument that he could have less stats and actually be a better player. Mm-hmm. So there it is. Throw your that's Jameson Williams. We're talking about Jameson Williams. Is he going to break out? Is he not going to break out? We want to know what you think. Doesn't matter what we think. You can either think I'm full of crap or you're agreeing with it. But Jameson Williams, according to the guys, from the staff and Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's him. He came into the camp. The smirk. All I need to do, the whole thing that sold me on it was the smirk that came from Amon-Ra St. Brown when he was like, okay, here's James. Actually, I know he's going to. I think Jameson can break out. Actually, I know he's going to break out. And then he had this little smile on his face like, okay.
I love what you said, too, about how they're going to use him more. They threatened us last year. They were going to use Jahmyr Gibbs in the slot. But we didn't see it a lot. We saw it some, but not a lot. And I do think that they are going to do that. Amon-Ra St. Brown played 64% of the snaps last year from the slot. I think we're going to see that number come down as they start moving Laporta into the slot. They start moving Jahmyr Gibbs into the slot. We're going to see less slot play from Amon-Ra St. Brown. And a lot of these teams, we hear the term 12 personnel all the time. 12 personnel. That just means 2 tight ends on this field at the same time. And when you line up in 12 personnel, and then you got 2 backs in the backfield, you got 2 guys, Laporta and Gibbs, that can before the snap go in motion and line up in the slot and really confuse defenses, really throw a wrinkle at them. You think it's going to be a run play because you got 12 personnel out there. Then just before the snap, Laporta jumps up, runs over to the slot. Now you've got to adjust. Hike. We caught you off guard. Guess what? We're handing it off to Monty up the gut anyway.
Right.
So you made all those adjustments for nothing. And that's what football and strategy and good coaching is, right? It's chess, thinking 3 moves ahead, keeping the defense. You hear this term all the time. Keep the defense on their heels. Well, that's what that means. Keep them guessing what you're going to do next. And Ben Johnson is only getting better at that. We saw that last year as this team goes from 3 wins to 9 wins to then 12 wins. Now they've revamped this entire defense. Look, as long as our quarterback stays healthy, 14 wins is reality.
Well, I agree. I agree with that. And to me, it's like for the first time as a Lion fan, to me, it's the other teams. Hey, I don't have the burden of proof anymore. I know who my team is. I know what they are. I know what the identity is. I know how they want to play. I know they have players in those spots that can do those jobs. So we don't answer questions anymore. If you want to see my We Don't Answer Questions Anymore video, you can go to our YouTube channel and check that out. But we don't. We don't answer questions anymore. You have to answer the questions. What are you going to do to stop our running game? What are you going to do when we throw Laporta and Amon-Ra, St. Brown in the slot, and then we hand the ball up the gut? What are you going to do about that? What are you going to do when the only way that you beat us last year was through the secondary and we replaced 5 players, which are all better than the best player we had from last year? What are you going to do about it? So I'm excited to see if they can answer any of these questions, and I don't think that there's a team in the NFL that can answer my question. Nothing is what you're going to do. Yeah.
It says that the Packers can stop the running game.
The Packers can't stop the running game. We can stop your running game. Hey, and it's like, here's Packer fan. Here's Packer fan last year. Pump the brakes. Pump the brakes. You haven't done it enough yet. Oh, you beat the Packers. What is it? Your Super Bowl? Hey, you haven't beaten Dan Campbell on your own home court in 3 years. And you're out here telling me because you got one victory on Dan Campbell on Thanksgiving last year, we're supposed to take you guys serious.
1 quarter. They really outplayed us 1 quarter in 3 years. 1 quarter you outplayed us in 3 years. You got one victory. Hey, Steve, what is that? Your Super Bowl? You got a Super Bowl, huh? You got your Super Bowl in there. You beat us once. Like, we're going to answer those questions. We're going to answer those questions. You got a touchdown off of throwing the ball, chucking the ball in the air. Jordan Love just throws out, chucks the ball up in the air, and Christian Watson catches it over our weak-ass secondary. And we all know it's a weak-ass secondary. We looked at that, looking at Kendall Vildor out there with Jerry Jacobs and going, oh, my God, it looks like a clown show. That's what we're going to do is we're going to stop you. And you ain't going to stop our running game. You can't stop the running game. So, J-Mo the man. Cannot wait. Hey, Steve, do you think that J-Mo can open up the running game for us? Steve, we are going to stop your running game. We're going to stop your running game. And we're going to stop your running game. Steve says, and we have to take you guys serious. You have to take us serious. If you don't take us serious, then you're going to lose again. Lose. Even on the one game they won, our backs went off. We were gashing them on the ground. If you remember the last game in Lambeau, Monty ran right through them.
Monty owns the Green Bay Packers. Like, he couldn't wait to get to a team that had a good offensive line to push those little guys out of the way. It's going to be fun this year, beating down this defense. Like, he's got a brand new defensive coordinator down there in Green Bay. And it isn't even a good defensive coordinator. It's Matt LaFleur's buddy. Do you remember when the Lions had Patricia and he hired that dude that was like at his old college as the defensive coordinator for a year? Do you remember that? When Matt Patricia, yeah, that's what you did. That's what your team did, and you're confident in it. You're like, yeah, because my defensive coordinator. The guy hasn't done anything. Your defensive coordinator is a joke. He hasn't even had any NFL experience as a defensive coordinator. But LaFleur hired him because he's his buddy, and y'all didn't want Joe Barry anymore. Joe Barry has a hell of a lot more experience being a defensive coordinator than LaFleur's buddy. But, yeah, I guess that defense is just going to stop the best rushing attack in the NFL. Good luck. All right. So, I think I've ran out all the other fans. It's just Steve responding to my comments right here. All right, this is the Lions. I got the wrong thing. Hold on a minute. This is Lion Villain Report right here. We're doing the training camp preview. Hulkamania was running wild. at Lions training camp. Today, we have discussed the 18-game schedule, probably happening sooner rather than later. We also been discussing some of the storylines with Jameson Williams being really, really, really good this year. Or maybe we're just going to fall off the edge. Maybe we're just Lions homers, and Jameson Williams is going to be Jameson Williams, and he's a bust and all that. We'll have to see. But this is the time. This is the time to start pumping your chest out. It's training camp. We're getting close to the season. And Mike thinks that we could win 13, 14 games. But with the first 5 games looking pretty serious, what do you think the Lions' record's going to be going into the bye, Mike?
4-1.
4-1. Who do you think is going to beat us out of those 5 teams?
It'll come in the first 3 games. We're going to beat Seattle and we're going to beat Dallas. Any one of those first 3 could beat us. Even the Arizona Cardinals, they only won 4 games last year, but all three of those 4 games were against playoff teams. And the other team they beat was Seattle, which almost made the playoffs. So they beat good teams, and it's always been tough for the Lions to play in Arizona. I'm not predicting that the Lions lose that game, but I think one of those first 3 they win. I think we're going to go to Dallas and beat the shit out of the Cowboys, and we're not going to let Seattle beat us again. So it's got to be one of those first 3, the Rams, Tampa, or Arizona. I think we lose one of those games. We do have a request, though, in the comments for you to do a Hulk voice. So
a Hulk. That's all right. That's right, brother. Let me tell you something, dudes. The Detroit Lions and Dan Campbell and Hulkamania are going to be running wild on you.
And I just love that Elise put a villain mask on her avatar.
Oh, man. I love everybody in here. I especially love Steve. Steve, you are a very, very good sport. Steve says, I can hear fear in your voice. Steve, I'm just being honest with you. The Green Bay Packers do not scare me not one bit. Like, I throw out that we may split out of respect because I just don't want to be a homer. I don't think that we're going to split. I think that we're going to beat your ass twice. We're going to beat your ass in Ford Field, and then we're going to beat your ass in Lambeau, and we're going to make a statement and stick your head underneath the water and say, you're my bitch. We're going to make Green Bay our bitch this year. We're going to give Green Bay a swirly. A green swirly. That just means that I haven't been eating the right stuff. And then you're going to get your face in there. All right. John, we got a new guy in here. John says, what up, y'all?
Hold up. You're going a little too far there. Means I ate the wrong stuff and it's green. You're still going to stick your head in it.
Maybe just came back in there. Yeah, we're still going to put your head in there. Yeah, you like that green stuff? You like that Gouda? Oh, John, is that Sadrin? I can't even read today. Elise Meme says, Russell, can you do the Hulk voice? You already said that right there. Timothy says, I am still here. John says 4-1 with the Cards as the loss. He agrees with you. Some of these teams, the parity. I mean, when we go in here and we're scared of some of these teams that you don't know a lot about, that's the NFL, folks. The NFL is so close. The parity is so close that, the Carolina Panthers on any given Sunday could beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, that's the parity of the NFL. All of the guys are good. The backups are good. Like, the backups are good. The practice squad guys are good. The guys that are just on the outside that aren't signed to a team, that are waiting to have a signed team, they're good. There are no shitty players in the NFL. That's where people really lose it, is like they kill it in college. But what happens when you're playing in college is you got, maybe 1/4 of the team is of the high level players, and the best players in college can eat up the players that aren't. it's when you get into the NFL, you instead of having a defensive end that's running a 5.40, you got two defensive ends that both run 4.5s that are running after you. Like the speed is unbelievably different when it comes to that. So I love this comment because the Cards, they're predicted to finish last. And can they beat the best teams? Yeah, they're a professional football team. They just drafted Marvin Harrison Jr. They have a young team that because they've been shitty, they've been picking at the top of the draft. So they got good young players that
Darius Robinson.
They're ready to make a jump. It's like the teams that it's harder to stay on top than it is to just come out of nowhere. And that's what Dan Campbell's been talking about in training camp the whole time. Is like, look, we may have a better team. We may have made it really far last year, but if we don't put the work in, if we don't hit it just as hard as we did last year, we're going to go and be one of the worst teams. And he referenced when he was on the New York Giants, Dan Campbell, they went 12-4 one year and they were feeling all good. They were feeling good about it. Don't worry about it. You take this practice off. Let's do a walkthrough instead. And they finished the next season 7-9 because they didn't have that little extra, right? And that can happen. And I don't think it's going to happen to the Lions because Dan Campbell started this and hit this right off of the bat. These guys that they brought in aren't those kind of guys. Amon-Ra St. Brown got his money, and it's not like he's comfortable now. Now he actually has more of a chip on his shoulder because, now they paid me. Now I have to be the best ever. And I do believe that Amon-Ra St. Brown, when it's all said and done, could be the best wide receiver ever.
I got a jet, Russ. Thanks for having me. I'll see you all on Monday.
All right. That's the main event, Mike, man. And I'm getting ready to do this, to take off too. But why do I say that Amon-Ra St. Brown could be the best wide receiver ever? It's because of what he is good at. It's like there's other wide receivers in the league that are elite in other stuff, like route running. Like I always use the Justin Jefferson. It's like, well, he's never going to be better than Justin Jefferson. Okay, maybe at running or catching the football or running routes or whatever it is that Justin Jefferson is doing better. But what Amon-Ra St. Brown does better than anybody in the league is prepare. His father was, Mr. Olympia, and he brought them up at a very young age to be very, very competitive and to learn how to get incrementally a little bit better every single year. And I don't think that there's another wide receiver in the league that has that work ethic. I think he is special. He is one of one in that area. He's not the best wide receiver in the NFL right now. But with the small increments, 3-4 years down the road, that it's going to be unanimous. People are going to be saying it. Some people are already saying it. And when he prepares, he gets a little bit better. He works on these little tiny nuances that makes him just that 1% better. And he's mastered the art of routine and just a little bit better every single time. Paul Jones says uncanny. Steve's still in here, dude. You are like the best Packer fan ever. The Lions will be a tough matchup. He's laughing at me. I don't mind Packer fans laughing at us. This is our program. We get to homer up on our own program. I already know that you got a bunch of Green Bay Packer programs that are out there. If you want to go and, talk about how great Christian Watson's going to be, it just ain't going to be on here. Ray Brado. What's up? Is that Roy or Ray? Roy says, I looked like Campbell couldn't wait to get away from Hogan. He's got better things to do. Yeah, you know what? It's kind of cool. Hogan's doing the tour. I mean, I'm not into the whole political thing, so please don't show any Democrat or Republican BS on there. I don't buy into any of that stuff. But the thing about Hogan sitting right next to to Dan Campbell was like, Dan Campbell's bigger than he is. Like, he thought, like, when they're thinking the tag team, I'm like, who's going to be the power guy? I actually think it's going to be Dan Campbell's going to be the power guy in that tag team. Jason MC says, hey, good morning, guys. Skull, we got Viking fans in the house. Jason MC, it's good to see you in here. How are you feeling about your Minnesota Vikings? Most of us from the outside here, I think that you guys did what you needed to do as the Vikings. I don't think you're going to be very good this year. You could surprise. You could surprise people, but you're in that transition year. And Quezzy drafting a quarterback, taking a lot of that bad money off of the books. I mean, you did what you could do. You did what you could do, and you got to get through. You got to develop these guys. The division's really, really good. The division's really good. The Vikings might be on the bottom of the division this year, but they made the right moves that I think they can be a competitive team. And you never know. Maybe Brian Flores gets this thing together and they surprise some people. You got a couple of these rookies do better. John says 1 of 4 losses this year. Paul Jones says Texas, Bears, and Packers I have as losses. All road games we win indoors. Yeah, I would love to see them, Paul, to kind of like curve that whole storyline, because I'd like to see them play a lot better outside this year. They don't have as many road games outside. But I don't want to see this team have an Achilles heel. I want to see them be able to get better in all of those spots. Thank you for the comment. John says that the Cards, Titans, Bears, Packers are my losses. Jason MC says, hey, you guys want to let go of any cornerbacks? Yeah, we went off on cornerbacks this offseason, but we got torched. I mean, you want me to give some Minnesota Viking credit right here? Nick Mullins carved up our secondary last year. I mean, can we not let a number 1 receiver get 100 yards, a touchdown, and own our secondary? Like, it's embarrassing to be one of the top leaders in the league in pressures, and you can't get sacks. John says he will be. Steve loves this. See, Steve loves it. He comes on here. He takes it. He likes to dish it out a little bit. This is going to be good. Jonathan says 44 days. 44 days until week 1. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I loved Hogan from a kid. Let's go. Let's go. That's right, brother. Hulkamania. Hulkamania looks like a midget next to Dan Campbell, dude. What you gonna do when Dan Campbell towers over you? Jonathan, I think that Jake Bates won the kicking job. Oh, man, you don't think that he's getting in there like Nancy Kerrigan, right? Like, Badgley was in there in the locker room just, combing his hair, getting ready to go home. And here comes Jake Bates in the Jake Bates Motel. Whah! Next thing you know, Jake Bates is the starting kicker for the Detroit Lions. Oh. Elise says that she met Hulk Hogan when she was a kid. How lucky is that? That's awesome. That's awesome. That was back when he was good at wrestling. He was larger than life. He was larger than life. They had to build Ford Field because there was this one match back in the day, WrestleMania 3, where Hulk Hogan lifted up the Andre the Giant brother and he threw him down into the middle of the ring and he shook the foundation of the Pontiac Silverdome. And it was never the same, brother. Yep, he slammed Andre the Giant in the middle of the Pontiac Silverdome. And then they had to build a new stadium because Hulkamania was running wild. And that's what happened, brother. Oh, Jason MC says, I'm super excited. I see us transitioning to 11 wins this year. That is I think that's a reach, man. But I think that this is the time of the year where the hopium is running wild. I mean, I think when it gets closer to the season, I think everybody starts tapering back their expectations back to where it is. But great job, Russell. You like my Hulk Hogan impression? That's right, brother. Oh, I used to love those guys. I loved wrestling so much in the 80s. I used to do all the impressions right there. You remember Ravishing Rick Rude? I'll give you another one right here. I gotta put something in front of my face for this. All right, there you go. I know this is not. I'm not gonna do a Hulk Hogan impression. I'm gonna do an impression of a guy named Ravishing Rick Rude. Anybody remember Ravishing Rick Rude? If you remember Ravishing Rick Rude, just give me a thumbs up in the comment right there. You like that? What I'd like to have right now is for all of you fat, out of shape Detroit Lions and Green Bay Packer Viking sweat hogs, keep the noise down while I take my robe off and show all the ladies what a real sexy man looks like. Hit the music. There's a little Ravishing Rick Rude for you. Oh, I've had some fun today. This has been a good episode. We went about 12 minutes over today. Let me get this background music in as we finish out. We're going to finish out. We appreciate everybody for joining the show today. This is The Villain Report with your host, Russell Wayne. You can join me each and every morning at 9 a.m. We're live on Roku. We're live on JC Sports. We got a brand new relationship. We're on the YouTube page. JC Sports, the Lions Villain Squad YouTube page. We're live inside of the Detroit Lions News Podcast. Thank you to Joe Chap and the boys. Go give us a follow over at Lions Villain Squad. We got 51,000 villains. 51,000 villains. You can join the conversation each and every morning right here. It's good stuff. Got to finish out these comments right here in the back while we're hitting that music. Brent says that we will have 11, 12 wins for sure. Elise loves my impression. I love that. Thank you, Elise. Paul Jones. Thank you to Paul Jones. Thank you, Jonathan Height. You brought back some memories there. Yeah. Jason MC remembers. Hit the music. Oh, I love that you guys love the wrestling page. You guys want to go follow my wrestling page? Let me get this thing out of the way here so you guys can go see that. You want to follow the wrestling page? Oh, wait. I got the wrong one. Dope. Let me go change that out. We got to get to the wrestling page, which is right here. It's WrestleMania Pro Wrestling Talk. And I do this kind of thing. When I get to 5,000, I'm going to be on here. I'm going to create a wrestling talk show. When I get this page, Pro Wrestling Talk, to 5,000 people, I'm going to start one of these little fancy podcasts, and that's also going to be airing on JC Sports. So for everybody that's out there that enjoys football content, we appreciate you guys for today. And we hope to see you guys tomorrow morning for the Lion Villain Report. Yes, we are going live on Saturdays as well. So from me, Russell Wayne, from Main Event Mike, from everybody here at the Villain Squad, may the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. And may the Lord shine his face upon you. Until we meet again tomorrow morning with Football Talk with Russell Wayne. Thank you.
And yo, the lies so that you never make it. Hopeless, so it seems. Eyes closed, hands open wide to embrace your dreams.